Okay, so we are going to look at some bruising. And I am using my Maron bruise wheel. Comes with the Maron kits. If you have the Ben Nye kit, you're going to have 4 colors here. And if you have the Graftobian kit, they're going to come in individual little pots. Actually, I need that for this assignment. But it's just some cream, grease-based makeup that comes in colors that are commonly associated with bruising. I've used this wheel quite a bit, so you can see which colors I use most. I use the red, and this looks black, but it's actually like a purpley blue color. I use the red a lot and that yellow a lot. I actually tend to frame most of my bruises out in yellow because I like bruises that are a couple days old because I think that they look better. But if you're doing a fresh bruise, you need more of the red color. And I even add a little bit of green in. I think green is the wonderful color that kind of balances out some of the stuff going on. It can also be used to balance out if you get too much red in your bruise. You can balance that out with it. The brown color here, I actually use precious little of. So anyway, we're just going to practice this here on the arm. I'm going to show you my general rule for bruising. The place where I think most people go wrong, especially for a bruise that's a couple days old, is they just kind of put more color on. But you really need to think about what happens when your skin bruises. What's happening is you have blood vessels breaking under the skin, and those blood vessels are kind of randomly located. They're different shapes and different sizes, so they drip more or less blood, and then that blood pools into various locations depending on what else is underneath your skin. So bruises are not usually like a round shape. They're often in the shape of whatever it is you hit, random shapes. So, and then they're not an even color all the way through usually. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you. Usually, like I said, I start with yellow and I go kind of big with the yellow, not a ton of product. You can see I'm just dabbing the color on. I'm not smearing it on because I don't want that type of look. I want to show the little pooling of blood. So here I'm just kind of dabbing out, and I want like a really random kind of blobby area. And if I get too much, like I've got too much right here, I just kind of blend it out. And I'm pulling a little bit with it, but I'm not smearing it. I'm leaving it kind of blotchy. So there's my yellow base. And I'm going to come in with my red. And I always use my finger for bruising. And you can see here, like this red is too much. This needs to be blended more, but without blending it out, what I do is I take a finger that doesn't have any makeup on it, and I use that to kind of dab it out, as opposed to streaking and blending it out. Dab-a-roo. Yabba dabba do. I just talked to my brother on the phone, and he's kind of the king of bad puns. And I think he just subscribed to my channel, so he'll probably watch this and feel famous. So Bennett at Hooked on Harry's, that's who you want to go for. All right, so I've got plenty of red in there. And don't worry if the colors seem unbalanced. Until you get all your colors on there, you don't really know how that's going to feel. You'll see what I mean here in a second about the red. So that's a pretty, like, believable bruise. It's kind of a little X-shaped, but you can sort of change the shape of it a little bit. I'm happy with that as a bruise. And the more I add, this purpley color, the scarier it looks. Just so you get an idea, this brown color that I nearly never use. I don't particularly think it adds anything good. But I do think that the green, this is all looking like a little sunset-y. The green kind of balances some of that out. You don't want to go too heavy with it, or it will start to look necrotic, which is a different part of the assignment. But you can see there, that kind of balances that whole color blend out there. So that's how I do a bruise with a bruise wheel. Now, if we want to go real scary, we can do something like pick up a brush and decide that somewhere in here I've got some blood poisoning. What happens with blood poisoning is your actual blood vessels get infected and they sort of turn necrotic and gross. And I've got an actual blood vessel right here. So if you've got a blood vessel, you can see that's kind of a great way to start. And I usually pull it into like some dark area of the bruise, and you often need more than one. And then it's kind of branchy, and then line doesn't have to be even. And you can see there, it's way more intense than the rest of my bruise, and I want to blend that out a little bit. There's different ways you can do it. I just blend it out with a brush, blot it out with your finger. You can also make it appear a little more real by adding some more color to it. So we take some red, and maybe there's some red in there that highlights that spot. So it's not just one color. It's going to give it a bit more depth. And for the zombie apocalypse, maybe some green as well. Your guys' assignments will cover all stages of bruising. I'll show you one here that's a little bit fresher in a minute too. So this is from a 3-day-old bruise into like, I really need to go see a doctor. And I'm probably not going to make it. That's sort of not good when stuff like that happens to your bruises. So that is general bruises, and I'm going to show you fresh bruises here in just a second. Okay, so now we're going to look at fresh bruises. And fresh bruises look just kind of red and splashy. So for a fresh bruise, they don't pool as much, so you can go a little smearier or blendier with them. So let's say I've got just some red, and again, you don't want to go very heavy with this product. A little product goes a long way. So almost just the red will give you what you need. And then you kind of blot where you want that bruise to be with the red. And then you sort of use some other colors to balance it out. Here I actually will use a little bit of the brown, which gives me like an earlier bruising color. And if I feel like the red is too bright, which I kind of do, I'm just going to mix some green into it. Not enough that you can actually see the green. Oh, well, you can see the green. Not enough that you can see the green, just enough that the green, I'm just lifting that up with a makeup wipe there, but the green blends in with the red and makes the red just a little less intense. So that's like a fresher bruise. And then, you know, as it ages a little bit, it gets a little bit yellow. And one of the fun things with a very old bruise, which you actually end up with, is very little red. You end up with kind of like a big yellow area and then like purple areas and not much red at all. So you need to look at kind of the lifetime of a bruise to figure out where your bruise is going to be. So for car crash, like this might be appropriate for a car crash, or the car crash could be like a day later in the hospital, your car crash victim. So where your car crash wounds should be relatively fresh. So they might be more like this. But it does need to be more than just red. You know, you kind of need that balance to make it look real. And then the previous bruises could be more zombie, more apocalypse. And now we are gonna turn this whole thing around and show you a shiner. So I'm gonna give myself a black eye here. All right. Okay, so we are going to do a black eye. And a black eye is when you get a bruise in your eye, and I'm gonna go ahead and bruise this socket. One of the things that happens when you get a black eye is this whole area, this like eye bag area, swells a lot, and it gets kind of shiny out here. That's why it's called a shiner. You often see like pooling here and then like heavy pooling in the ring around your eye socket where all that blood just kind of sits. So shiners are a slightly different kind of bruise. I'm covering them differently or separately. So I'm going to go ahead and start with just some yellow cream around there, because like I said, I like to do my bruises a couple of days old and sort of show you. I remember when we did old age, how I kind of said you have that sort of C shape in your eye socket, and that's really where this blood pooling is going to be the heaviest. And what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to put the colors in with a brush. Because one, they're pretty heavy for this, and two, I really want them in a specific spot. And just like the regular bruise, I'm going to work those colors in that order because they're all in there. And if you don't have a like rainbow bruise, they don't tend to look very real. I'm going to give myself some swelling there in the waterline, not the waterline, the underside of my eyeball too, and just some dots through this part. And this doesn't have to be perfect, depends again on how like old your, my GoPro just yelled at me, I don't know why. It depends on how old your bruise is. Let me see what that's trying to tell me. Oh, it's trying to tell me it has a dead battery. Okay. It depends on how old your bruise is. So, that's just something you get to decide. And one of your 3 traumaed people should have a black eye. Now, whether that's your zombie, or your pirate, or your car crash, that's up to you. You do want to get some of that splotchiness in. Again, I'm not blending, I'm dabbing here, and the dabbing like lifts and pushes the product without losing some of that kind of awesome blotchiness that you get from the dabbing. And again, I'm not like wiping this on here, I'm using the flat part of the brush and I'm just dabbing it, and it gets pretty gnarly. Black eyes are super scary looking. That's starting to look pretty good there. I'm going to keep pushing this. And it's really important that it all kind of emanate from that like C spot right there, that socket. So the blood kind of comes in there and sort of pools. Sometimes it gets dark around here too. I'm blending that out a little bit. Nice and bruised. Okay, I'm going to add some more yellow too. It's going to help with a highlighting look. I'm going to do that with a brush. Out here. It's yellow outside your eye socket. Like on your eye and up here. Like really weird eyeshadow, friends, and we do not need to worry about this being blended. In fact, we don't want it to be blended. It should not look like beauty makeup. It should look like a black eye. Now I'm going to take some white cream here. I'm actually going to blot it on the back of my hand to make sure I don't have more than I want to have. And I may mix this with a touch of yellow. So I'm looking for like a highlighted bruise color. So I have this like, I don't know if you can see that it's yellow, but it's white. I'm going to give myself a little highlight through there. And I'm trying to make it look like I've got some shininess or some pooling going on there. And I'm going to take the dark color, that dark purpley blue. that back in under the eye. Red. Now the one thing this black eye doesn't have, it's always my last color, is the green. You just kind of figure out where the colors need to be balanced by the green. So there you have one version of a black eye. It's a very, it's a believable look. So that's a black eye. It's different than a bruise and it has a little bit more going on with it. They're often hard to see from stage because you have shading in your sockets anyway. So you can punch some of those ideas up. You can even exaggerate the shape of the eye socket, bring this down a little bit if you want to make it seem really obvious, and it gives you a little bit more area to shade as well. Anyway, that is a black eye. Okay, I am going to show you Scar Wax now. I hate this product. And just recently, they started making Scar Wax in something other than white people color. So hopefully you have the right color for you. Every makeup company's Scar Wax is a slightly different consistency. So this is Ben Nye's. And it's kind of hard to work with. So you want to like, kind of like clay, you sort of need to get it to the right temperature to play well with your skin. Scar Wax can basically be used to make something look different on you. Like it can give you like a bump on your nose or like a broken nose. That could be a good one for a pirate, like a broken nose. I'll show you how to do that from the front in another little video. But here we're just going to do like a basic, we'll start with a basic little cut. You need less of it than you think. The more of it you have, the more difficult time you'll have like blending it in. So make a little worm out of it. Be patient, don't push too hard. Give yourself a little worm. It should be tapered at the end. So this is a pretty big cut. See, it's more than I needed. And cuts and scars are pretty similar. Oops. So let's give myself a cut on my hand. When you're using Scar Wax, see, getting it to stick to the skin is like a whole thing. So I kind of got it where I want, and I'm going to pull it down from the side onto my skin. And you probably wouldn't want to have Scar Wax going onto your wrist like that. You sort of want to keep it away. You can see as soon as I move my hand, like it doesn't look super real. You want to keep it away from parts of your skin that move too much. So I'm trying to keep this a relatively straight cut here. So I'm pulling it down, blending that into my skin. So that just gives me some wax that's blended into my skin. Now from this point here, I could just add a little bit of redness and irritation down the sides of it and make it a scar. I'm going to show you very little red is needed to do that. Just dotting it around the edges of it. Generally, like the point of a scar is actually lighter than the rest of your skin because it doesn't get much blood. It's like kind of a part of your body that's like not quite dead. There tends to be like the scar tissue doesn't get the same kind of blood supply that the rest of your body might get. This can be a good place too for that brown. Not too much color, just a little bit. So that is like a quick and dirty little scar there. Now you may want to turn this into a cut. And the way you do that is you actually are going to physically cut through this. And you can do that with like the end of a paintbrush if you have one. I've got these one with a little chisel. You can do it with the point of a pencil, something like that. So I'm going to actually drag this through here. Make it a cut, and you want to pull the cut open. I really hate this stuff. And I'm just pulling the edges of this down so that it looks a little more real. And what's going to make this look real is having it with some blood in it. I've got some effects blood here. But before I put the effects blood in, I'm going to take my little brush and I'm actually going to paint the inside of this a little bit dark. And that kind of represents the darkness of inside your skin. Also, blood tends to be a little candy colored, so and some dark color in there. And then some red color in there. This is also a place too where if you made some cross marks in it, it might look like old stitch marks or something. So that sort of looks like a dried up cut. But you probably want it to be fresher. And you can use straight up red for this. I have a little clown palette here. But you can also just take some of your stage blood. I'm going to use a different brush for this just so I don't contaminate that brush because I've been using it a lot. And kind of drop that in there. Get an air bubble. And it doesn't have to have the same amount of blood. And this stuff is runny enough, I think if you put enough of it in the right spot, it'll run or start to pool. So that's like a cut. And that painting, you see that painting I did around the scar almost disappears now because it's just so believable that like that's a cut in your hand. So that's scar wax for a cut. And I'm gonna pause and clean up and show you a bullet wound with this stuff. Okay, so we're gonna do a bullet wound, and I'm actually gonna show you another way to do a cut as well. So I use my like paintbrush as like a shovel. Again, you don't need as much of this stuff as you need. So here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a dot, and we want like a little pea-sized blob of this stuff. Getting the right amount of whatever product you're working on, whether it's paint or scar wax, is really important. So I'm gonna roll this into a ball. And I'm gonna get shot through my hand. And I'm just gonna kind of push that on there. Hopefully it'll start to stick. And I'm gonna push the edges down in a circle. So kind of like I did the scar or the cut that I did earlier, but in a circle. So now it's just a thing there. Now that could become like a wart or something, but it's not. It's going to become a bullet wound. I'm pushing the center of it down so it's sort of like a flat thing on my hand. And then I'm going to take this. It could be anything with like a big round end. This is like my 9 mil. I'm just going to push it in there. And hopefully I can lift it out. might be dehydrated, folks. If your skin won't come out of the nose, the scar wax, you might be dehydrated. And I think that's a little like, the rim of that's a little big, so I'm pulling it out a little more. Bullet wounds are kind of super easy. So you just need to make like a circular opening in your skin. I've got some red on this. I'm going to pick up some more red. Paint the inside of it. Nice and dark. I always paint the inside of something before I put blood in it because it gives that blood a background to sit on. It makes it look a little better. All right, all of a sudden it looks like I have a hole in my hand. You could also use this for like a cigarette burn or any number of things. Just like on the scar, the cut, basically the second your skin, something horrible happens to your skin, it gets irritated. And so the stuff like right where the entry wound is, this stays like almost white because it stops getting blood, and then blood kind of rushes to this sort of area around it. So you want to get that part red and irritated. And that bruise red is a wonderful like color of like natural irritated skin red. And you almost don't need to put a highlight in. I could, if I wanted to, put like a highlight on the very edge of that white to make it look a little more dead. But that kind of usually does it. I've got some white over here. I can show you what that would look like. And if you don't have white, just like your highlight color on your skin is fine. It's just to make the skin look like it's not getting any blood. And then our friend blood, because bullet wounds tend to bleed. And I'll try to get like a little drip going on this one so you kind of see that effect. So I'm going to fill it full of blood. And it's best to if you can let gravity do your dripping for you. There we go. There's my bullet wound. All right, I'm gonna pick that blood up off of there. And I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna show you another way to do a cut. I'm gonna put the cap on my blood. The Krylon blood, this is the Krylon blood. It's very thin. I think the blood that's in your kits is a bit thicker, so it's not gonna run around like that. But I'm gonna pick up some scar wax, and here it's just another way to do it, another kind of cut. You don't need very much, like, oh God, it's going everywhere. A little like pea-sized bit is plenty. Maybe even like half that. This is probably two little dots like that. Just soak up all the blood that's in there so it doesn't go running around. All right. That's my dried up bullet wound now. Okay. So I'm going to take each of these little pea-sized bits here. I'm going to make my little Scar cigar. Scar cigar. It's a Swedish actor. No, that's Skarsgård. And also a terrible pun. Sorry. So this is a cut. This can be like a little bit wider of a cut. I'm going to try to pull the end of that down. Stay. So I'm going to make another little cigar here with that other side of it. Try to get it about the same length. It's falling off my hand. The other side is. That's okay. Put them together here in a minute. All right, we were going to put this, we'll put it here. Okay. So this is more of like an open cut as opposed to that last one was just sort of like a slice. The first time people use this product, they say, how do I get it to stick to my skin? And you just kind of have to hope and pray. That it will eventually choose to stick to your skin. See, that's why I put the cap on. Brand new carpet in this room. I've got this cut too close to my bullet wound to pull that down with my finger. Blend that out there at the end. So there's half of my cut, and then I'm going to take my other little worm and make the other half of my cut. Like I said, this is more for like a gaping wound. And make sure I pull the ends together. And I leave the middle, I'm only pulling one side of it down. I leave the middle of it. So that already looks kind of super gross. That's my blood brush. I'm gonna take my paintbrush, get the white cream off it. I have a makeup wipe that I'm using to clean my brush, and it works really well to keep it from getting contaminating my other colors as I'm painting. Paint that dark color in there. This isn't to indicate necrosis. This is just to indicate shading. I don't want to get any of this on like the little parts that are sticking out, the sort of lips of the cut. I want that to stay stay nice and white. And get that in there. I'm getting it all around there. So that shading around the cut really helps make it seem real. And you can always push some of that back over if you pushed it out of the way. Just like anything, any wound, the edges stay white right next to the wound, and then like around that area, you get that irritation. If you find, you're going to find that if you've never worked with scar wax before, you're going to have trouble getting it to stick to your skin. And that's okay. It's okay to just abandon the piece you're working on and try again. And that's perfectly acceptable. Right here, I've got this problem. This is coming up right here. And I'm going to try to fix it, and I'm going to make it worse. Totally made that worse. Yeah, scar wax just doesn't like your skin, and it doesn't like to move. You know, if you get parts of your skin that, like the back of your hand actually doesn't move that much. So it's a good place. But if you like tried to put this like here on your thumb or something, it's not going to work out. It doesn't work out really well on your cheeks. They're too fleshy. It works out well like on parts of your forehead that don't move. People do like cuts through the eye with this, which can look really cool. But make sure not to be too expressive with your eye, because as your skin moves around, it sort of pops off. And every good cut needs some blood. Put some blood back in my bullet wound. All right, so there's my cut, a different kind of cut and a bullet wound. So the other cut was like a really fine, like little hack cut, and this is more of a like, I've been maimed by a wild animal. This would be cool if you did like 3 of these for like a little Wolverine type slash. Maybe your car was attacked by a wolf. I didn't say you couldn't do that, so that's perfectly acceptable. The car crash project is just something, some sort of fresh wounds. All right. And that is scar wax. I'm going to show you the how to just like do a broken nose with it now. Okay, so we're gonna do a broken nose, and we're gonna do a wart too on my nose. So I'm gonna turn myself into a witch, and yes, I still have my black eye from earlier, so that's fun. Wish the lighting was a little better in here, but anyway, So for a broken nose, what you're going to do is go ahead and take your shovel, use the back of your brush, and just sort of shovel out a blob. And here we're actually trying to kind of make it look like there's like a bone. I already have kind of a little kink there in my nose. I was a speed skater when I was younger and also older. I quit a couple years ago. And I fell when I was like 8, and I think I hit the like board's nose first, and I think I broke my nose a little bit. So we're gonna go with the thing that's already there. So what we're essentially gonna do is we're gonna try to make that look bigger. So I got my little pea-sized blob of nose wax, and I'm gonna kind of just push it on there, and blend it up. And I'm pushing it off to the side so it's not just a big thing in the middle. There. And then you kind of just put your makeup on over that. You definitely want to blend it so that it's smooth like your skin and not not like a wound. This is just part of your face that's different. So that's not a huge difference. Like when I sit back, you can kind of, the lighting does its thing. I'll grab some foundation color here. Sort of cover it with that to show you. Ha! So that's like a bulbous, broken type nose. You could add some bruising if it was like a recently broken thing. I'm going to go ahead and leave that here. And I'm going to do a wart over here. I'm actually going to take a makeup wipe and lift the foundation I just put on there because I don't know how well this stuff sticks underneath foundation. So I actually have a wart here that is, it's like a prosthetic wart that you can buy. And see how it comes on a little base? Well, we're going to do that too, because if you just push that little ball onto your skin, it's not going to stay. You need to give it like a little base to stick on. So use my shovel, dig out my product, and I just need a little like lentil sized bit of it. Roll that into a ball, and then I'm going to push it flat. I'm going to make like a little wart donut. Doesn't need to be very thick. What this is essentially acting as is like a landing pad for your wart. So you put that on. You see how I did that? Like I pressed it up to my face and then I pulled out. And the second I do that, it's actually stuck pretty well. So you sort of have to have one finger on it and another finger sort of holding it. And the finger that's on it can't be stuck to it. It's like a whole thing. So with this bit here, like I am not trying to change the shape of anything. I'm just trying to give my wart a landing pad, something to stick onto. And now I'm going to take however big I want my wart to be, and I'm like 87% witch. So I like probably have a pretty big wart. So I'm going to give myself a little pea-sized wart, maybe a little bit smaller than that. You can give yourself more than one. You can give yourself 3 warts. You can be the biggest witch there's ever been, or you can be a baby witch. You can have no warts. You can be a pirate with a wart. As long as you've got some craziness going on. All right, so there's my landing pad right there, and I'm going to take my little pea and I'm going to shove it onto my wart. Or shove my wart onto my landing pad. All right, and that's worked pretty well. that's kind of stuck on there. Now, warts are also typically not bright skin colored. They also have like pores in them. So I've got just like a pencil here. The best way to do this would actually be to take a saran wrap and push the pencil through the saran wrap over it. It would make the most realistic looking pore. But I ain't got time for that. The reason that works better is it sort of flares the edge of the hole out. Makes it look a little bit less like you've poked a hole in it with a pencil and more like it's a pore in your skin. So there's my poured up wart. And I'm going to take my brush and my bruise wheel. I'm going to actually paint the whole thing red. The whole wart red. And I'm going to come back with my dark color and I'm going to start from the underside. Oops. Paint the edge of my nose blue. Pull that up, and I'm trying actually not to get this on my nose. I'm trying to get this just on the wart. Alright, so there's my nasty witch wart. That's an awfully big wart. So maybe I'm not quite that witchy. I don't know if I can pull off that wart, but maybe my broken nose balances it. My wart, my nose. So that's all done with scar wax. And because it's on your nose doesn't move a lot. So that actually stays pretty well. I can't really get that to fall off. Scar wax, I think, works well on film sets. I think it's tough for theater. It's tough to hold this on your face for 3 hours. It just sort of eventually separates. And at the same time, yet never comes off your skin. I've used some rubbing alcohol to get it off. So good luck buying that. But there's some tips and tricks. I usually... I kind of scrape it off when I need to take it off. So like here I'd like come and I'd like scrape that. And once it has makeup on it, you don't want to keep it. So just throw that away. And just kind of scrape it off the best you can. Well, sometimes it just lifts off. See, like basically what happens is the skin underneath here starts like perspiring because you suffocated it and it like kind of pushes it off. So it just doesn't last for long. But for quick bits here and there, it can be very realistic very easily. And the next thing we're going to cover is latex and all the cool things you can do with latex. So until next time.